What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT, and we got football back tonight. NFL action. We got the Lions taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce, he's been battling a hyperextended knee that he suffered in practice a couple of days ago, and according to reports, it seems like he's going to try to play through it. So he's going to be playing tonight. That's what they're trying to make it seem like. But before we get to the game, I got some things that I want to get off my chest to you guys. I want to talk about Florida State. They beat LSU, and a lot of people are starting to talk about Florida State now, and they're starting to take the Seminoles very seriously. How good can Florida State be this year? We're going to talk about that. Texas versus Alabama. What are the implications? If Texas beats Alabama, are they back? If Alabama loses, has the Alabama dynasty officially fallen? And then the Los Angeles Rams, right? A lot of people are saying they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, and I think that would be everybody's worst nightmare. Imagine if the LA Rams get their hands on Caleb Williams. If they get Caleb Williams, I think they're going to be a dynasty. I'm going to tell you guys why a little bit later. And lastly, the Falcons offense. They're doing a lot of things very differently from the rest of the other offenses in the league. Before we get into it, if you haven't already, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We go live every day, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're not just a YouTube channel. You can find the audio version of every episode on all podcasting platforms. Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from, you can find the JT Sports Podcast, man. If you got a smartphone, I need you to take that thing, go to Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, wherever, type in the JT Sports Podcast and give us a 5-star review. If you love the content and you want to support us, all you got to do is give us a 5-star review. That's all we're asking. All we're asking, a 5-star review. That's all we want. Here we go, man. Florida State smashed LSU a couple of nights ago, and a lot of people are talking about the Noles. And the last time Florida State made it to the college football playoffs, I was in 7th grade. I'm a senior in college now, and the Florida State Seminoles, it seems like I've seen this program go from being the top of the food chain to the middle of the food chain to becoming the bottom of the food chain, and then coming all the way back up to look like predators on the prowl. And the Seminoles, they smell blood. And you know what they smell? They smell a wounded animal. And you know what that wounded animal is? It's a tiger. But not just any tiger, a Clemson tiger. And you just saw those boys lose to Duke. Duke smacked those boys. It wasn't a fluke win. Duke outplayed Clemson. Clemson had the better team, and it looked like Duke was out there looking like they was a team full of nothing but 5- and 4-star players themselves. You see, Florida State, the way they've been able to assemble their team through the transfer portal is the reason why they have one of the best rosters in all of college football this year. You guys saw Jaheim Bell, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Jordan Travis all have dominant performances against LSU. All those guys came from the transfer portal. Clemson's inability to want to use the transfer portal is why they're now starting to fall from grace, and why Florida State is about to knock them off, and they're about to take control of the ACC and return to the college football playoffs. All off season, people were talking about, can Florida State live up to the hype? Well, it looks like they're living up to the hype right now, and when they knock off Clemson officially, and they may do it twice if they face them again in the ACC championship, Florida State is a team that we need to be talking about when it comes to who can win it all. Because I think they have a top 5 roster in college football. Jared Verse, You have a really good secondary, a lot of depth on the defensive line, but Jared Verse is the best player on that FSU defense, and he's going to be a potential top 5 pick in next year's draft. Their offensive line is the best that it's been in years. You got Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman. They damn near got a basketball team on the gridiron. Jordan Travis is probably a lot of people's top 3 pick to win the Heisman. You're looking at a Florida State program that right now is reinvigorated. And Clemson is on the decline. Florida State is in ascension mode. They're only getting better. And I'm trying to tell you guys, this team has nothing but athletes on it. Just because they may not be the most talented team according to 247 Sports Team Talent Composite rankings doesn't mean they don't have an overall great roster. All of these big acquisitions that they got out of the transfer portal all made their presence felt against LSU. You got Brian Kelly questioning himself and questioning LSU, saying that maybe we're not the team that we thought we were coming into this year. LSU isn't a bad team. They just played a really good Florida State team. We keep asking, when is Miami going to be back? When is Texas going to be back? When is USC going to be back? Well, Florida State is back. They made a statement Sunday night. They got the talent. The only question is going to be, can they keep up the consistency? Can they avoid an upset against Miami? Miami probably could pull off an upset against Florida State. Can you survive some trap games on the road? Florida State has the talent to not just make it to the college football playoffs, but they can win it all this year. This is a really good team. They already proved that they're not fluke, they're legit. They beat LSU 2 straight years in a row. And they dominated LSU. After halftime, FSU just looked like the way better football team. They look like the better, more talented team. They got so many talented players on this roster. I would consider this a top 5 team if we're just going completely based off talent. Yeah, not all these guys they got out of high school. Some of them they got from the transfer portal, but all that matters is player development. And Florida State, I believe they're back, and I expect this team to be in the college football playoffs. Since Nick Saban has been the head coach of Alabama, they've only lost 8 games at home under him. And there have only been 3 teams in the last 11 years to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. You had Johnny Football, you had Ole Miss in 2015 with Hugh Freeze, and then you had Joe Burrow in that national championship winning LSU team in 2019. Texas, if you think they have a shot at winning this game and you're picking the Longhorns to pull off the upset against Alabama, you're basically saying that you think that Texas is going to be able to make history. Because that's what they would be doing. Nick Saban and this Alabama team rarely lose at home. They're always locked in when they play in Tuscaloosa. You see, Alabama nearly lost to Texas when they were on the road. But Alabama, all their losses came on the road last year. When you're playing Alabama at home, there's a different level of execution that you got to have. And can Texas be able to avoid penalties and avoid having costly mistakes and play their A-plus game? They got one of the best rosters in college football. This offense is freaking talented, and they're stacked at every single position. Their offensive line is phenomenal. They had 2 players who were some of the best at their positions as true freshmen last year. Then you bring in A.D. Mitchell from the transfer portal. You also have Isaiah Nayer, who we didn't even get to see play last year. You got Xavier Worthy. There's too much talent on this Texas offense for Quinn Ewers not to be able to replicate the performance that he had last year and this year's game. Come on, we remember what Quinn Ewers did to Bama in the first quarter last year before he got injured. He was on fire. He was fantastic. Can he come out with that same level of intensity in this year's game? Because they're going to need a superstar performance out of him if they're going to be able to pull off the inevitable. Because let's face it, man, even though Texas has a great roster, when you got to beat Alabama on the road, it's just different. And if Texas beats Alabama, can we finally say Texas is back? Or do we got to wait for them to make it to the Big 12 championship game to say Texas is back? Because beating Alabama would be something worth celebrating if you're a Texas fan. Because not just anybody goes on the road to Alabama and Tuscaloosa and just knocks them off. You got to have a damn good team to beat Alabama at home. And if Alabama loses this game, I don't think, oh, they're falling off, the Nick Saban dynasty is over. No, it's not. If Texas loses this game, I think that there's going to be more pressure on Steve Sarkisian. Because if you lose to Alabama, and let's say you lose in a blowout fashion, then you're going to have Texas fans looking at you saying, damn, man, like, I thought we had a good team this year. I thought that we were actually going to be able to compete with Alabama. We nearly beat them last year. So what happened? Now, if Texas loses by, let's say, one possession in this game, rather it be a touchdown or a field goal, I still think there would be a little bit of disappointment. You see, people expect Texas to really be able to go into Alabama and win this game. People think that Texas has the coaching staff, they finally have the defense, and they have a lead offense, and they got a winning formula against Alabama, a team that has some concerns at question mark. Well, some concerns at quarterback, Jalen Milroe. People don't really know just how good he really is, and we don't even know if he's the best quarterback on the roster at the moment. For all we know, he could struggle early in this game and get benched. Now, me personally, I like Jalen Milroe. I think he's a fantastic athlete. He's really dynamic, running the ball. Now, as a passer, he can be a little streaky at times, but he has a really strong arm, and he can beat you over the top. I think Texas defensively, they're going to be in for a challenge against this Alabama offense. I don't think this Alabama offense is going to struggle in this game. I think that they're going to be really good running the football, because not just do they have a lot of good running backs, but Jalen Milroe's running ability is something that you have to game plan also for. And with how good he is at making guys miss, and with that speed, he's going to make guys miss in the open field, and he's going to make guys in the backfield that may end up having tackles for loss look stupid, because he's just not an easy guy to bring down. I like Jalen Milroe to have a fantastic performance in this game, but they don't need Jalen Milroe to have a Heisman-worthy performance to beat Texas. They have the highest blue chip ratio in all of college football. They got arguably the best roster in college football, either them or Georgia. They don't need Jalen Milroe to dominate. Quinn Ewers needs to have a better game than what Jalen Milroe has to. Alabama has the home field advantage. Texas doesn't. They got to play mistake-free football, and they got to execute at an extremely high level. You see, if Texas can pull off this win against Alabama, I probably will feel really confident about their chances of being able to make it to the college football playoffs and win the Big 12. Beating Alabama at home is a really big feat that a lot of teams don't accomplish. And if you're able to beat Nick Saban at his own house, I think it shows a lot about how good of a team you have. Think about the teams in the past that we've seen beat Alabama. LSU in 2019 with Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. They won the damn championship. 2015, Ole Miss, Hugh Freeze. They were a 10-win team that year. And we already know about the legend of Johnny Football and what he did that season. I mean, he was magic. For you to beat Alabama, not just do you got to have a really good team and really good quarterback play, but you also got to have a little bit of luck on your side also. I mean, these teams just don't beat Alabama just cleanly. Sometimes you need a couple of penalties to go your way. But if you're Texas, you got to make sure that you can win in the turnover department and that you commit less penalties than Alabama. You can't have false start penalties, and you can't get rattled. Last year, when Texas played Alabama in the fourth quarter, I think Texas got rattled. You see, Quinn Ewers, too many times last season, late in games, he got rattled. He's a streaky player. If Alabama's home crowd can get into this game and let's say Alabama gets out to a 10-point lead going into the second quarter and this crowd really gets into it, is Quinn Ewers going to be able to function at a high enough level to be able to lead Texas to the win? It's really hard winning on the road in college football. I really have learned to respect the home field advantage in college football. You got to be a really good team to be able to consistently be able to go on the road and win games. And when you're playing in an atmosphere that is Bryant-Denny Stadium, you got to be able to be on your A-plus game, and you got to be dialed in, and you got to be able to execute. And we've yet to see Texas show us under Steve Sarkisian that they've been able to go in and consistently execute. They were picked to win the Big 12 last year, if I'm not mistaken, and they're picked to win it again this year. But the problem with Texas is the fact that in big moments, they come up small sometimes. Are they going to be able to come up big against Alabama at 7 p.m. Eastern time this Saturday on ESPN as a 7-point underdog? We will see. But if Texas wins this game, oh my God, the hype for them is going to be at an all-time high. And I think you really are going to have to take them serious and view them as a team that possibly could win it all. But if Alabama wins this game, oh my goodness, it kind of would be them making a statement, would it? Because it seems like people are starting to count out Nick Saban now. You know, I know you guys have seen your fair share of people talk about how the quarterback position is at probably the worst state that it's been in a very long time. I mean, they had Bryce Young, Mac Jones, Tua, Jalen Hurts. They had a very great stretch of quarterbacks. And now you kind of have a lot of uncertainty. But if they can win this game and they kind of beat Texas emphatically, I think that a lot of people are going to start saying, uh-oh, maybe we underestimated Alabama. Now, if Alabama wins this game close, I don't really think a lot of people are really going to give Alabama a lot of props because Texas has a lot to prove in this game. You see, if Alabama wins this game, then people are going to say, well, they were supposed to beat Texas. You know, Texas is overrated like always. But if Texas beats Alabama, they're going to get more props because they've been down for so long that the expectations is that they're not supposed to be able to win games like this. So Nick Saban, if he's able to lead Alabama to the win in this game, I'm going to say that I probably like their chances of being able to win the SEC. I think that Texas is a really good team. And I think that Texas is probably going to be playing in the New Year's Six Bowl game this year. I think they probably win 10 games and possibly the Big 12. Hell, maybe they could get into the college football playoffs with just one loss. But them beating Alabama will hold way more weight for them than Alabama getting the win over Texas. Let's just be honest about it. You guys aren't really going to care too much if Alabama beats Texas. You expect them to beat Texas. People think Texas can beat Alabama, but even then, it's just in games like this, so many times over the last couple of years, Texas has fallen flat. But I think that if Texas wins this game, I think it'd be fair to say that they possibly could be back. But we'll see. The Atlanta Falcons officially released their depth chart, and I was looking over it, and they got a position called Joker. And Cordell Patterson is starting at the Joker position. And I'm like, bro, what the hell is the Joker position? And apparently it's like this Swiss Army knife position where Cordell Patterson is going to be lining up pretty much anywhere. We could see him at receiver. We could see him in the slot. We could see him at running back. Hell, he might play a little bit of fullback. There's no telling what Cordell Patterson is going to be doing with this Joker position. And the Atlanta Falcons offense, they're doing something that the rest of the league is not doing. They got a bunch of players that can do a lot of different things. You can kind of use them as chess pieces. You can put Bijan Robinson at wide receiver and running back. You got Kyle Pitts who can play tight end and receiver. I mean, you got Cordell Patterson who you can damn near line up anywhere, and plus what he's going to do on special teams. The Falcons offense with their positionless football, which is pretty much the kind of style players they have that can play kind of anywhere. You can call them positionless players, and that creates a lot of mismatches when you're looking at Atlanta's offense versus opposing defenses, because not too many defenses have the kind of personnel to defend against these kind of players. I mean, how are you going to defend against Kyle Pitts? Marcus Mariota was the only thing that held him back. There were a small group of people this offseason that I got into it on X that were trying to say he was a bust, the fantasy football community. But when Kyle Pitts actually has a competent quarterback that can throw him the damn football, he's a monster. He had the greatest rookie season ever for any tight end in NFL history. Desmond Ridder should be able to get Kyle Pitts the damn ball. It's not too hard. You just got to throw the shit up to him. And you look at Drake London, he's a stud, especially after the catch. And you got Tyler Algier, who's going to be RB2 behind Bijan Robinson, but we probably can see both of those fools on the field at the same time. Bijan Robinson at slot, and you got Cordell Patterson lining up at another position. Maybe he's lining up at fullback, and then you got Tyler Algier. Like, it's no telling what the Falcons offense is about to unleash on the NFL. I'm really interested in the Atlanta Falcons this year. I spent a lot of time this offseason talking about the Falcons, and I don't really know if this is a playoff team, but I'm not doubting Atlanta. You know, I do have them winning around 7-8 games, and I'm really excited to watch the Falcons this year because this offense is really intriguing. I mean, no team in the NFL has the kind of hybrid players that Atlanta has on offense. And Arthur Smith, he has top 5 odds at winning Coach of the Year this year. And Arthur Smith, he's gone 7-10 his first 2 years in Atlanta. And this year 3, you're wondering if they're all going to be able to make it come together, because year 3 is where we are able to decide if a coach is good or not. Year 3 is normally make or break for coaches in the situation that Arthur Smith is in, where his first 2 years he hasn't had a lot of success. So we'll see, but this offense is really fascinating. I mean, the amount of hybrid players that they have that can play a variety of different positions, it's going to make it hard for defenses to game plan for and to prepare for, especially when you got one guy lining up at one position and he could end up doing something completely different. There's a lot of trickery that Atlanta could use. So I'm really excited to watch Atlanta's offense this year. You know, we got questions about Desmond Ridder, but with what they have offensively and what Arthur Smith and this coaching staff keep talking about, like Arthur Smith, anytime you listen to him talk X's and O's, like he sounds like a mad scientist. This dude just loves talking about football, and he just has this calm, cold demeanor. Like, I was watching him in the Netflix quarterback documentary when they were interviewing him. Like, he just has this calm, cool demeanor. But he kind of sounds like a rocket scientist when he talks about football in a sense. So him and this offensive coaching staff, I don't know about Atlanta's defense, but this offense sounds like they're about to be doing a lot of crazy things this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta ends up winning this division. I think the two teams that have the best shot at winning the South this year are the Panthers and the Falcons. And the reason why is because I kind of like Arthur Smith. All right, and if they don't make it to the playoffs this year, I will hope they give him a 4th year, because they're doing a lot of innovative things offensively, and I'm really interested in seeing how defenses are going to defend against this. I mean, Bijan Robinson can play receiver, dog. Y'all don't know that? Y'all see him rounding up cornerbacks and linebackers in training camp? You see Bijan Robinson in the open field between him and the safety? He's winning that thing 90% of the time. These defensive backs do not like to tackle. So Bijan Robinson in the open field, good luck. Bijan Robinson may have the best rookie season that we've seen out of a running back since Ezekiel Elliott came into the league and was an all-pro. Bijan Robinson is a new breed of running back. He can play receiver at a high level and running back. and you got Kyle Pitts, who was underutilized last season. Kyle Pitts with Drake London, that's nasty. And Cordell Patterson, whatever they're going to have him doing in this joker position, look out for Atlanta's offense, man. They're doing some different things down there in the Big A. The LA Rams are going to suck this year. And it probably is going to be your worst nightmare. Because if they have the opportunity to draft Caleb Williams, I think they're going to become a dynasty. You see, when Andy Reid got Patrick Mahomes, after he sat for that first season, it was on to the races. And imagine Sean McVay, one of the greatest offensive minds in the history of the NFL, getting his hands on one of the greatest quarterback prospects in NFL history. People are comparing Caleb Williams to Patrick Mahomes, and for good reason. Did you see their season opener against San Jose State? This fool dropped the snap, still threw a touchdown anyway. 70-something yards. This dude is ridiculous. He makes routine backyard football plays look easy and effortlessly. And his pops already said that Caleb Williams, if he doesn't like the situation that he potentially could be going to with the team that gets the number one pick, he has no problem going back to USC for another year. And he wants to go to the NFL, and he wants to have success. He wants to win it all. That's why I think the LA Rams should go all in on tanking for Caleb Williams. Now, would that involve maybe having to trade away Aaron Donald? I mean, listen, if I got the opportunity to draft Caleb Williams at quarterback, and all I got to do is give up Aaron Donald for a couple of picks to trade off for that number one selection, I would do it. Aaron Donald is one of the greatest football players ever. But the quarterback position has so much of a bigger impact. And if you can get Sean McVay, an offensive-minded coach, Caleb Williams, arguably the greatest quarterback prospect to come out in the last decade, I think that puts the LA Rams in a way better situation than keeping Aaron Donald, and maybe you end up going ahead and drafting another quarterback not named Caleb Williams. I mean, Drake May wouldn't be bad, but Caleb Williams with Sean McVay, they potentially could cook up a dynasty. Think about the current state of quarterbacks in the NFC conference. Outside of Jalen Hurts, who else is an elite quarterback? We got some really good quarterbacks in the NFC. Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins. You also have Dak Prescott, Geno Smith, Jared Goff. But you put Caleb Williams in the NFC, he quickly, with Sean McVay, could easily become a top 10 quarterback and the second best quarterback in the NFC behind Jalen Hurts. Sean McVay is an offensive mastermind. You give him Caleb Williams, he's going to be able to do a lot of things. And the Rams, they should be able to get their cap situation situated within the next couple of years. Caleb Williams, if he gets drafted by the Rams within the next 2 to 4 years, they potentially could end up becoming a dynasty, just like how the Kansas City Chiefs have quickly started to become a dynasty. The LA Rams with Caleb Williams will be your worst nightmare. You better hope that the LA Rams end up surprising people and not being as bad as what we think. Because them getting Caleb Williams, that shit would be unfair. Honestly, with Sean McVay, and I don't care about you people that's going to say, oh, man, you don't know if Caleb Williams is going to be all that good. He hasn't played a single down in the NFL. Be quiet. Just be quiet, man. There are certain quarterbacks that you can just look at and just know they're great. When you saw Andrew Luck, you knew he was going to be special. When you saw Trevor Lawrence, his first snap, when he was playing as a true freshman, you knew he was going to be special. You can see generational. There are certain quarterbacks that you can just look at and tell they're the next big thing. Just like how we looked at LeBron and knew he was the next big thing. Same thing with the Victor Wembanyama dude. Some guys you just look at and you just see the greatness. So for all y'all folks that say, chill out, JT, he hasn't played a single down in the NFL. No, you need to go watch Caleb Williams. There are just certain quarterbacks that they just look like they're playing football at a way slower pace than everybody else. The game for Caleb Williams in college football is going -4 speed. Anytime you drop a snap, pick it up, and throw a touchdown, that's next level. Because most of the time, for 99.9% of other quarterbacks out there, they drop the snap and they got to fall on the ball and get ready for the next play. I want the Rams to get Caleb Williams really, really bad. Either them or the Raiders. If the Rams get Caleb Williams with Sean McVay, y'all better watch out. You better hope the Rams don't get Caleb Williams. You better hope this team can overachieve some way, somehow. They get Caleb Williams, oh my goodness. It's going to be scary. This is it for this episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. What's up to everybody in the chat? Was the Duke game in Duke? Yes, it was, President Nitty. What's up, Poppy Guapo? David Corona, what's going on, man? I appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode. If you enjoy, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, give us a 5-star review. We're not just a YouTube channel. Every single episode you can find on all podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast from. You can find the JT Sports Podcast. Give us a 5-star review if you enjoyed. Share with your friends, family members, and acquaintances. And I hope you guys enjoy the Detroit Lions versus Kansas City Chiefs game tonight.